Our referee this evening is the vastly experienced Clément Turpin of France, who's got French assistance. Just a reminder of the teams then for City, in front of Ederson in goal. It may well be a back four of Walker, Diaz, Gvardiol and Lewis. Gundogan, Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne in midfield. Doku, Grealish and Haaland in attack. And for Juve, Di Gregorio is the goalkeeper. Savona, Gatti, Kalulu and Danilo in their back four. Locatelli and Thuram Oulien holding. Conceição, Koopmeiners and Yildiz, the three attacking midfielders behind Vlahovic in attack. Manchester City are in their change strip of the all burgundy shirts and shorts and socks tonight. And Juve, of course, at home in the black and white stripes. They got the inspiration for those from Notts County back in the day. And I think Notts County were the first team to play at this new Juventus stadium when it was reopened. Such was Juventus's appreciation of what Notts County did in terms of inspiring the strip that we all know so well. Underway then on TalkSport 2. Manchester City are kicking towards the north stand end, I think, away to our left-hand side, and they want to throw immediately left-hand side, and it does appear that Rico Lewis is playing on the left-hand side of the four. We'll see how things develop in these first few minutes. So as soon as I say that, he comes narrow, Dean Ashton.
Well, that's what he does. He'll start as if he's a left-back in a defensive position, and then he'll drift into midfield to make that midfield two alongside Gundogan. And then he'll try and spring back out when he needs to. The issue is he's got caught a few times in that position, just in between, as to exactly where he needs to be, and teams are targeting it. They're waiting for it. They're waiting for him and Gundogan just to peel apart enough and gaps to open up, and then they try and penetrate Manchester City's defence.
Ball played up to Haaland on halfway, touches it out to the right-hand side for De Bruyne, and he'll get it again via a ricochet off Locatelli. De Bruyne midway point of the Juve half, tucks infield to Gundogan, making 73 Champions League appearances tonight. Although Bernardo Silva is one ahead of him and makes the record for Manchester City tonight for Champions League appearances. Fernandinho was the previous record holder at 73, so many congratulations to Bernardo Silva. Milestone for him tonight. Out on the right-hand side, the City captain, Kyle Walker. Bang on the halfway line. Tucks it infield to De Bruyne. Stroke it back out to the right-hand side, asking a lot of Grealish, but he did really well, actually, to keep the ball in play. The ball was really fizzed at Jack Grealish. He's playing out on the right-hand side at the start tonight. Bernardo Silva is slid into by Danilo, and it's out of play for a Manchester City throw. Couple of minutes gone, 0-0 on TalkSport 2. We'll keep you updated with goals elsewhere tonight on the 11th of December. There's Champions League 8 o'clock kickoffs elsewhere in Italy, like Milan, and Arsenal Monaco live on TalkSport, and there's Championship games too that are all about 15 minutes old. No goals there. Cross from the right, looking for Haaland, but Michele Di Gregorio comfortably catches for Juve. He's one of the four changes they've made tonight from their 2-2 draw against Bologna. 0-0.
Just found himself a little bit of space on that right-hand side. He favours that side in the position that he'll play. Almost as two number 10s with Grealish and De Bruyne, with actually Bernardo on the right-hand side, Doku on the left. So it is more of a 3-2-4-1, I would say, Manchester City, when they have the ball.
Yeah, it's fluid. You'd expect nothing less from the Pep Guardiola team. They keep you guessing.
The only thing it was disappointing was De Bruyne's cross. When he gets in that position, you expect genuine quality. It was far too loopy to allow the keeper to come and get it. But Juventus definitely just sitting off. They're not looking to press the way they did against Aston Villa.
Bernardo Silva, right-hand side for City at 0-0. 3.5 gone. Faced up by Danilo. Just tucks it back in field for Gundogan. Plays a short 1-2 with Lewis. Lewis gives it back to the German. Back for City at a second spell. And he has it again, Ilkay Gundogan. Finds Lewis pretty much at the centre of the Juve half. Goes back to Diaz in the centre circle. Then Grealish is dispossessed by Thuram Oulien, but then City are quick to win the ball back, and it's sent out to Bernardo Silva on the right wing, level with the right-hand side of the penalty area, and the ball's just nicked out of play by Kenan Yildiz for a City throw. 4 gone, 0-0.
Just a little slow from Jack Grealish there as he took the ball in with his back to goal. Didn't realise that Thuram Oulien was right behind him.
Already Benfica 1-0 up on Bologna in the Champions League. Bologna third from bottom, or fourth from bottom should I say, in the table. Only got 1 point so far, and Vangelis Pavlidis has given the Portuguese side the lead. And Chelsea's women are 1-0 up on Twente in the Champions League. Chelsea already maximum points so far, and Catarina Macario has given Chelsea an early lead for Sonia Bonpastor's side. Guardiola for Manchester City, just outside his own penalty area, rolls it along the deck up to halfway. Doku controls it well. He had a defender at his back, Gatti, who was clutching hold of Doku's shirt. So free kick to Pep Guardiola's men. Grealish has picked it up left-hand side, but then he's dispossessed again. This time it was Conceição working hard to dispossess Manchester City's number 10. Kalulu finds Danilo, has to go back to his keeper. It's a bit of a high press from City, and Juve trying to play around it and get out, and they've got the ball to the right-hand side, and it's tucked forward down this right-hand side by Savola, and then a lovely crossfield ball from Conceição to find his captain Danilo, and he will try and set Blajovic away. Flag has stayed down. He's in the inside left position. Blajovic into the area, tries to drive it across, and it's deflected behind for a corner, and only now has the flag gone up against the Serbian striker, and Manchester City have a free kick and don't have a corner to defend. 0-0.
Well, he just tried to use the oldest trick in the book, which is to make your run behind the defender in an offside position, cut in towards the defender, bump into him, and try and then make yourself onside with the other defender, and then dart in behind. He just barged into the back of Diaz, but didn't quite arc his run enough, Blajovic. But as always, teams will look for that. They'll look for that when you turn over possession. Can it be 1 or 2 passes and you're in behind this Manchester City defence?
He made his return from injury against Bologna, did Dusan Vlahovic. He's pretty much the only fit striker that they've got. Arkadiusz Milik, the Polish international, probably not going to be fit again for Juve to the new year. Joshua Zirkzee, of course, long since gone to join Manchester United. So their options up front are minimal. Turn Koopmeiners, who's playing in the number 10 position tonight, he was playing up front in recent times for Juventus. Here's De Bruyne, lifting it up to Haaland at the edge of the area, back to goal, being watched by Gatti. The ball ricochets off a couple of legs and comes out to Yildiz on the far left-hand side. He's running back towards his own dead ball line, but then neat football by Kalulu, and then Kefren Thuram brings it clear, and then a good foot in from Kyle Walker saw the ball deflect back into Grealish's path. He finds De Bruyne, and he just hits the ball against Gatti, the defender, and Clement Turpin just tells De Bruyne to get up. There's no free kick. 0-0.
Yeah, it's tight in that midfield area, isn't it? Because of Manchester City having 4 at times in there, and then Juve becoming nice and narrow and stopping that ball going in easily to De Bruyne and to Grealish. But actually, Manchester City have worked well when they've lost possession, worked incredibly hard just to disrupt Juve's play.
Here is Federico Gatti, and then Locatelli, lead ball out to the left-hand side, kept in play by Danilo, the captain. Thuram works it back to Kalulu. Now Locatelli, still inside their own half here, Juve. Not much of a press from Manchester City. Now Haaland goes to close down the space in front of Locatelli. Young boys leading Stuttgart. They've not taken a single point so far in the Champions League, the Swiss side, but Lucas Lukomi has given them the lead in Stuttgart. Now Rico Lewis under pressure from Conceição, and they collide just outside the area, but no free kick. It is, though, a Juventus corner, as Lewis, running back towards his own dead ball line, was really pressurised by this live wire midfielder on loan from Porto. 0-0.
Yeah, he was a little bit lucky, Rico Lewis, because he just didn't sense that Conceição was right behind him. All of a sudden he then tried to put a sprint in, was knocked off balance, Conceição felt he was fouled, but he actually just twisted his own ankle with the way that his foot landed, which is why the referee Turpin just allowed play to go on. But Conceição's hurt that ankle when he rolled it slightly.
He's not getting up, so the corner for Juve is going to have to wait for a few minutes. Conceição looks in a little bit of distress as he lies on his back. I did mention how good he looked to me when he played against Aston Villa. It was a 0-0 draw that night at Villa Park, but he was the man most likely out there on both sides to create something in terms of a match-winning opportunity. And he's got the old magic spray being applied to that ankle. He's going to have to go off the pitch and not take part in this corner routine that Juventus are about to strike in. Turn Koopmeiners is going to deliver it. It's from the Juventus right, but it'd be a left-footed in-swinger from Koopmeiners. Let's see how Manchester City defend this corner. Blajovic waiting at the edge of the 6-yard box. Koopmeiners will now deliver it, left-footed, deep to the far post. Nobody there in the Juventus shirt. Rico Lewis could have had a shout from his defenders to leave it, but instead he's headed it back out there on the far side for a Juve throw, 0-0.
I mean, he should have heard the shouts from his teammates, 3 or 4 of them, letting him know that he could just let that go. Rico Lewis just heading it out for a throw-in.
Conceição's back on. 0-0 the score on TalkSport 2. 10 minutes played, and it was a vital interception for Locatelli as the ball's rolled back to on halfway. What it must be like when you've got Erling Haaland running full pelt at you when there's a ball that's about 60-40 in your favour. That's no fun for anybody. But he got it clear all the same.
He did. Best tactic there for him was to certainly go to ground and stretch ahead rather than going into a shoulder-to-shoulder battle with Erling Haaland.
A couple of quick goals for Feyenoord in the Champions League. That 3-3 they got with Manchester City last time out, having been 3-0 down. They're 2-0 up on Sparta Prague in Rotterdam. Gernot Trauner and Igor Paxiao with the 2 goals for the Dutch side. 0-0 in the Juventus Stadium, live on TalkSport 2. Manchester City looking to get themselves back in the groove, which they thought they were, frankly, with a few minutes gone in the second half against Feyenoord. Bit of a wayward clearance from Ederson, and eventually drifts out of play via a Juve knee for a Manchester City throw.
But it's because everyone's now scrutinising every defensive moment or lack of confidence from the Manchester City defence. I mean, that ball goes back to Ederson. You're so used to him just getting his head up and just pinging a ball in towards Haaland's chest or out wide, and he just completely shanks that with no pressure really on him. And that, again, that's now scrutinised because they're lacking confidence.
Bernardo Silva out on the right-hand side for City, midway point of the Juve half. 0-0 the score with 12 minutes gone. Walker's there in support, so too De Bruyne on that right-hand side. It's rolled back infield, first for Gundogan, and now Lewis scheming towards the edge of the area, finds Grealish. First touch is heavy from Jack Grealish, and it allowed Savola to get it clear, but only as far as Guardiola. He plays a 1-2 with Jack Grealish and works it out to Doku on the left-hand side, but there's not much room for him to operate in. Immediately there were 2 Juve players on him in Conceição and Savola, and then Grealish sees Gatti get between him and the ball and clear downfield for Juve. Good header back into play by Rico Lewis, and then Doku goes down and wins a free kick for Manchester City out on the left-hand side as West Brom take the lead against Coventry in the 8 o'clock kick-off. That's an early goal for Alex Mowat. 11 unbeaten West Brom, but 10 draws against Coventry City, who got their first win for new manager Frank Lampard at Millwall at the weekend. West Brom 1, Coventry 0. 0-0 between Juve and Man City. Kevin De Bruyne has got a good position. Now this is where he excels, Dean Ashton, these free kicks from wide areas to bamboozle that space between defenders and keeper.
Yeah, he so often finds the right delivery, but he's actually gone short.
Commentator's curse. Played it short to Doku, gives it back to De Bruyne, puts the ball into the box. It's headed out by Thuram to the edge of the area, and then Bernardo Silva picks it up, right-hand corner of the box. Has to pass it back 10 yards or so to Gundogan. Now into the centre of the half for Lewis. De Bruyne takes over once again, but he's been pushed back towards halfway by Blajovic, who's leading the press out from the back for Juventus. And City do indeed have to go back into their own half just for a moment on Ruben Diaz. Short to Gundogan on halfway. Splits it to his right for Kyle Walker. Bernardo Silva, he's got no space to operate in. Yildiz was closing down the space out there. Plays on the left of a 3, Kenan Yildiz, but he could very creative. He can play as it. He wears the number 10, and that's where I think he wants to play in this 4-2-3-1 system.
Yeah, I think he will eventually. But he's having to do the defensive work. I mean, this is a Juventus team that is averaging 60% possession, top in Serie A. They're not used to not having the ball yet. The manager and the players are bought into, we are going to sit off, we're going to allow Manchester City to have more of the ball, and we're going to try and counter-attack.
Almost given away by Edison. He was bailed out by Gundogan. There were 3 Juve players herring in at the ball as Edison passed out to Gundogan at the edge of the area, and Gundogan did enough.
Your lack of trust in Ilkay is something I need to let him know.
Yeah. Well, he did very well there, Gundogan. You know, there's been some criticism of his pace since coming back for a second spell at City after he spent that time at Barcelona. But that wasn't about pace, that was just about a good footballing brain and helping out his goalkeeper. Doku's won another free kick meantime. 0-0 on TalkSport 2. Doku was just caught by Kurt Miners as he made his way infield from the left-hand side. So midway point of the half, and again De Bruyne will stand over it and try and scheme something here maybe this time. Kurt Miners just getting a warning from the referee and not a booking, it would appear, for that challenge on Jeremy Doku. Quarter of an hour played. City free kick, and Juve, their defensive line is about 9 yards from goal. Haaland an obvious target. De Bruyne just floats it in right-footed. Oh, it didn't get past the first defender, Thuram. Conceição, the smallest man on the pitch, heads it further clear, and it's back on halfway, 0-0.
It's an awkward position to have that free kick. It's very central that Kevin De Bruyne had. You can see what he's trying to do. He's still trying to whip it towards the middle of the goal, hoping there's a flick on. I think you are better actually playing that short and wide if you can.
Well, Dean Ashton's dead right. 70% possession for Manchester City in this opening 16 minutes, which is something that Juve are not used to, domestically speaking. And they're still struggling to get out of their own half quite a lot here, Juve. It is very much being played in the midfield and into Juve's half in these opening minutes. 16 and a half gone on TalkSport 2. This game brought to you in partnership with TNT Sports, the home of European football. De Bruyne flicks it in field to Bernardo Silva. Lovely skill through the legs of a defender into the area right hand side, tries to send the cross over, and it's blocked behind by Kalulu for Manchester City's first corner of the night. 0-0.
There's still magic in that wand of his, isn't there? Bernardo Silva, that was just gorgeous bit of play. The awareness to know that the defender is right there as you take it under pressure, but then with his left foot just almost bobbling it on purpose through the defender's legs to get it the other side. Brilliant.
So a right wing corner for City to be taken by De Bruyne, right-footed out swinger. Doku inside the 6-yard box. Other players making a run in, goes over the head of Haaland and over the head of Guardiola. Grealish picks it up left-hand side though. Juve haven't got it clear, but they should now because Grealish's back heel intended for Bernardo Silva only found Locatelli, who rolls it back to his keeper. First time clearance downfield, headed wide by Vlahovic, looking for Conceição, but that's well dealt with by Kyle Walker, hooking it back to his goalkeeper Edison. Stays goalless on TalkSport 2.
Yeah, Grealish there, just not on the same wavelength as Bernardo Silva, and I absolutely love Jack Grealish as a player, but he's got to get back to really affecting games, and I mean scoring goals and assisting. You know, it's...
Well, you figured when he came back in for England and scored against the Republic of Ireland earlier this season, you thought, okay, that could be a key to him, you know, rediscovering his mojo.
Yeah.
Not quite as it's turned out.
But it's interesting that Guardiola's playing him a little more centrally rather than out wide. Doku's the wide player, Bernardo Silva, he's playing centrally with De Bruyne.
Well, again, that's where he wants to play.
Yeah, and I think that is where I'd like to see him. I think he can be that influential in that position.
City trying to close down the space as Haaland trying to get in front of the goalkeeper, but it's a good ball out to Savona, and he's making strides into the City half. Flicks it out to the right wing. Conceição level with the edge of the area. He's got Doku and Lewis for company. Conceição, so he clips it back into midfield for Locatelli. First time ball into the box, headed out by Gvardiol, but Yildiz will get there first for Juventus. Got the option of an overlap. Goes for goal himself, and he's only just wide. Kenan Yildiz with a right-footed effort. Did that take a touch on its way through? It may just be a goal kick in the end, but that was more than just a sighter for Kenan Yildiz. That's as close as we've come. Stays 0-0.
Well, he didn't hesitate when that ball came to him. As soon as he saw the overlapping run from Danilo and Bernardo Silva just take his attention away, he's then gone to strike the ball towards the far post, hitting up on the ball to get the dip down and skipping off the surface, but just half a foot wide.
That was close, but it stays 0-0 on TalkSport 2. We're coming up to the 20-minute mark in the Juventus Stadium. Gatti for the home side plays it up to halfway, but it's gone beyond Conceição. Lewis has got plenty of time to collect the loose ball before it rolls out of play and turn and face the halfway line. Gives it to Gundogan, and a short pass backwards for Ruben Diaz. Manchester City will go to Paris Saint-Germain on match day 7, and they will not want to be in a similar area of the table. A winner here tonight gets back in amongst the top 8. Remember, it's the top 8 sides in this mega league of 36 teams who go automatically into the round of 16. If you finish between 9th and 24th, that means you go into the lottery of that extra playoff round. Here is Josko Gvardiol. One of the plus points, I think it's fair to say, for Manchester City this season, his continuing good form that he brought over from last season into this, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, absolutely, and at the moment it is about the positives as Bernardo Silva goes into a centre-back position and starts dribbling out.
And made it look like it was the most natural thing in the world. Going to get it back from Kyle Walker on the far right-hand side. Approaching the midway point of the first half here on TalkSport 2. Manchester City have been comfortable so far. Looking for Haaland on halfway from De Bruyne's slid pass, but it was intercepted by Danilo. And here's Yildiz, who just had that effort on goal a moment or so ago, driving the ball from left to right, looking for Conceição. Lovely first touch from the Portuguese, running at Lewis. Right-hand corner of the area, pulls it back to the edge of the area. Great pullback, but could only find Bernardo Silva. Thuram wasn't quick onto it. City clear their lines, 0-0.
Yeah, good defensive work from Bernardo Silva. Starting on that right-hand side, Gundogan was upended, so he went back into a good position as it must be offside, Koopmeiners, surely.
Well, he played it out to the left-hand side, and the hands went up from the City defenders. Doesn't appear that any offside flag was put up, but City are coming forward anyway as Grealish carries the ball forward, finds De Bruyne inside left channel, out to the left wing, and Doku level with the edge of the area, up against Savona. Doku skips inside him, staying on his right foot, shoves Conceição away like he's a fly, just irritating him as he's working down that left-hand side, and then works it back in field. Juve got everybody behind the ball in their defensive third. Gundogan in front of that defensive shield. Midway point of the half, plays a short 1-2 with Grealish. It's very narrow. Juve defending the width of their 18-yard box, aren't they, Dean? Only now do they go out and engage, say, Bernardo Silva on that right-hand side as he receives the ball on the wing. Little over from Gundogan. Gets it back from De Bruyne, clips it to the far post beyond Haaland. Picked up by Doku, left-hand side of the area. Drives for the byline, pulls it across, and Gatti gets a foot on it and clears it away from danger. And Conceição does well to prevent the throw-in, 0-0.
Well, it's brilliant worked. Ball in towards Gundogan. Just let it go through his legs to De Bruyne. Gets it the other side. Gets his head up. Sees the run from Haaland to the back post. As soon as he plays that cross, Haaland ran to the near post.
Koopmeiners on halfway. Wants to release Vlahovic through the middle, but couldn't do so because he knew Vlahovic was offside. He was trying to hold his run. City have won it back. Lewis finds De Bruyne. Midway point of the first half on TalkSport 2. It's 0-0. Here's Doku left-hand side. Plays it. Lovely reverse ball into the area. De Bruyne across the face to go, but it won't find Haaland. In goes Bernardo Silva trying to win it. and Juventus legs get it away, 0-0.
No, it's a brilliant challenge from Locatelli. Vital, because Bernardo Silva was there ready to strike with his left foot, but once again Kevin De Bruyne with a really clever run in behind. Doku found him. It was a little stretch for De Bruyne. He was looking for Haaland for a tap-in. Once again, defenders doubled up on Haaland to make sure he couldn't get it.
You're listening to Juventus 0, Manchester City 0 in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Ian Danter and Dean Ashton, the former England and West Ham striker, your commentary team here on TalkSport 2. A whole host of live football to come. Tomorrow we've got 3 games for you tomorrow from Europe. Astanta against Chelsea at 3:30. Mike Shewell and Darren Ambrose, your commentary team, followed by Victoria Plzeňa against Manchester United here on TalkSport 2. That's 5:45. Alex Cook and Scott Minto. And then Rangers against Tottenham. Ange Postecoglou going back into Ibrox. And that one, Jim Proudfoot, Stuart Pearce, your commentary team for that one. Ange must, well,
Some atmosphere that'll be, won't it?
oh boy, especially when he takes his place in the dugout. So you covered for live football across the TalkSport network tomorrow with us here, and indeed into the weekend. We've got EFL on Friday night, we've got game day exclusives on Saturday. Myself and Dean will be at Emirates Stadium. Arsenal against Everton is your 3 o'clock exclusive for TalkSport 2. Faye Carruthers will be with us as well at Emirates Stadium. 0-0 here, 25 gone. Bernardo Silva for Manchester City. Finds Kyle Walker, his captain. Lewis in the centre of the half. Just a bit of space to operate for a moment. Finds Grealish. Turns away from Locatelli. It's worked out to Doku on the left-hand side. Doku looking to outrun Savona to get to the byline, but by the time he got to the ball had gone over the dead ball line. It's a goal kick. But worth a try from Jeremy Doku just to test out the speed and agility of the Juve fullback. 0-0.
I mean, how sharp is he?
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't think I've ever seen a player from a standing start have the sharpness of Doku, because that's what he does. He just slows it down to standing there, and then all of a sudden it's just this almost electricity that runs through him, and he's away.
Now, Vlahovic has been brought down on the edge of the centre circle. And Clement Turpin gives the free kick. Well, that's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Definitely Vlahovic had a chunk of Ruben Diaz's shirt, but a combination of Diaz and Lewis took him down.
Yeah, Doku making most defenders look like a diesel when he's got the new electric from a standing start. I've seen a few that have been eaten up.
Yeah,
the lights.
Yeah, certainly last season there were some performances, particularly in the Premier League. Some of the Saturday afternoon games we did at the Etihad, it was just a wrecking ball. Yeah, absolute wrecking ball.
Again, you're just a bit like Grealish. You're just asking for more end product, aren't you? For the talents that they've got, you want more end product.
Millwall 0, Sheffield United 1 in the Championship. Rhian Brewster for the Blades, bidding to go back to the top of the pile. Millwall in this sort of holding pattern, waiting for a replacement for Neil Harris after he announced he was stepping down in the next couple of games. And Stuttgart have equalised against Young Boys in the Champions League, and so still are making it 1-1 at the Juventus Stadium here on TalkSport 2. It's still 0-0 between Juventus and Manchester City. Best chance we've had, Dean Ashton, was Kenan Yildiz trying a speculative effort from the left-hand side, 25 yards out, that wasn't far wide of Ederson's left-hand post.
No, I mean, it's been completely dominant in terms of possession from Manchester City. They've been excellent with the ball. You know, the tempo of the play and the passing and the movement's been excellent. And they've had their moments, they've got into good positions, they're just waiting still for that final pass to find a teammate. And that's down to Juventus's defending. I mean, they look like an incredibly well-coached defensive team.
Lovely turn from Kenan Yildiz, and turns and runs into the City half. Tries to feed Vlahovic in the area, has to drive out to the left-hand side. Well, he just decided to pull it back with a first touch. It was such a weak cross in the end because he was off balance, and there was nobody there in a black and white shirt waiting for it anyway. 0-0.
outstanding from Yildiz to start with, just taking it on the back foot, a little drop of the shoulder just to let it run across his body. And then he needed to play. He needed to play instantly to Vlahovic because the space had opened up. Then Kyle Walker came across and got a tiny touch on the pass that kind of ran it away from Vlahovic, and he overstretched with his touch, and the chance was pretty much gone. The first part from Yildiz is excellent, but then it needs to be played at that perfect time for you as a forward.
Now, I'm not going to fall into the trap with 29 minutes gone of saying Haaland looks quiet tonight, because I've lost count the number of times I've thought that in my head, and then 2 minutes later suddenly he comes to life. But he has been starved of chances thus far. We're approaching the half hour at the Juventus Stadium in this first half in the Champions League. Juventus 0, Manchester City. Now remember, these two teams started in 22nd and 20th place respectively, and a win for either will send them shooting up the table towards the top 8.
Well, you are right about Haaland. Just the 5 touches he's had in this half. Half an hour gone.
I knew you'd know. Here's Bernardo Silva, maybe trying to give Haaland a crucial 6th touch. De Bruyne at the edge of the area, gives it back to Silva down the right-hand side of the box. Pulls it back. Haaland's the target for the header, but it's cleared away by the head of Locatelli instead. Gundogan picks up the loose ball, rolls it back to Guardiola. Then Lewis looks for Grealish. Grealish teases it out to Doku, left-hand side, level with the edge of the area. Passes the ball along the deck infield to Rico Lewis. Lewis, square ball just to his right for Gundogan. Patient again from Manchester City. Bernardo Silva has a run from Walker. He's found him inside the area. Walker pulls it back intelligently, looking for Haaland. But again, there's plenty of black and white shirts there, and they get the ball out of harm's way, Juventus.
Well, he got his head at Walker. It was a really good underlapping run from him. He gets his head up. He sees the Manchester City coloured shirt in the penalty area. It's Haaland who it is.
Yep.
But he's the only one, and he's got 3 defenders around him. That's where a Grealish, a Doku, a Gundogan, a De Bruyne, but you have to make the effort to run in. You might not even get it. You just might release Haaland's defender away from him.
Lovely first touch, left-hand side from Yildiz for Juve. Into the box, left-hand side, tries to go for goal. He was off balance, gets to his feet, and the ball's cleared away desperately by Manchester City. And in the end, they drive it against the Juve leg and win a goal kick. But Kenan Yildiz was on his marks, on the starting blocks, trying to get in behind Kyle Walker, and he did so on that left-hand side. But as he got into the box, the City players converged on him, and Ruben Diaz made the all-important block from the Yildiz shot, 0-0.
Well, that was Walker's fault from a quick free kick from Juventus. He's not concentrating, he's not noticed Yildiz's run behind him, and then it's a magnificent first touch from Yildiz, just to cushion it, so he can then burst away with a little bit of pace to get the other side of Walker.
It's the old adage, like he's brought it down with carpet slippers on, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
But then, you know, that's what Ruben Diaz is. That's where you get the difference when he plays, is the reading of the danger and where that is, and the blocks and the intensity when you defend.
Half times in the Championship, no goals to speak of. QPR 0, Oxford 0, Hull 0, Watford 0, Cardiff 0, Preston 0. Chelsea are 2-1 up on FC20 in the Women's Champions League. They were 2-0 up, or rather, they were back at 1-1, but Aurélien Jean-François has made it 2-1 to Chelsea. And Celtic's women are losing to the Real Madrid women's team in their Women's Champions League. Celtic have got no points from their 4 games. Real second behind Chelsea, and Sinja Brun has put Real Madrid's women in front. Half-time score at Millwall is Millwall 0, Sheffield United 1. That Rhian Brewster strike, and still 1-0 to West Brom in the 8 o'clock kickoff against Coventry City. We played 32 minutes on TalkSport 2 at the Juventus Stadium. Juve 0, Manchester City 0. Grealish for the visitors. Tucks the ball in field, looking for Lewis, but again it's a loose pass, and then the referee gets in the way of Koopmeiners and apologises, Clement Turpin. He's hurt his back actually, or a side strain maybe, in trying to get out the way of Turn Koopmeiners. Might need a bit of physio here, the referee. Oh, he just got barged into, but he was obstructing. He should give himself a yellow card for that.
He's in decent shape, is Clement Turpin, but maybe not up against the physical specimens of the Champions League.
Well, the days of, shall we say, referees who aren't quite in the same shape as those that they're officiating on are long gone, aren't they, Dean? You might even have encountered one or two of those in your time as a Premier League player. Let's say no more than that. 11 minutes to half-time. Juve 0, Manchester City 0. Ball's out on the right-hand side, brought up to halfway by Savona. Conceição runs into Doku. Then surely there's a foul on Grealish there, and there is, as he was taken down by Locatelli. So a free kick to Manchester City, just inside the Juve half of the field. Manchester City might have lost in Sporting, but that was their only defeat in 29 UEFA club matches. They have one hell of a record in Europe to defend. But still the narrative is that they're not quite what they should be. A win here tonight would do an awful lot just to keep a few people quiet who've been making noises off about whether this is change.
It doesn't look particularly any different to so many games I've seen with Manchester City.
Right.
Loads of possession, really patient, trying to just probe and wait for a lapse in concentration. But what is unusual is there hasn't been a shot. Not one shot from Manchester City in the game.
Arsenal have had a shot and they've scored from it. Bukayo Saka has given Arsenal the lead over on TalkSport against Monaco. They've also played 35 minutes at Emirates Stadium, so Arsenal in front. City goalless here so far with Juve, 10 to the break. Out on the right-hand side for Pep's men is Bernardo Silva. Strokes the ball in field to Rico Lewis, gets his header and then floats the ball out to Doku, left-hand side. Neatly brought down by the Belgian, faced up by Savona, left-hand corner of the box. Rolls it back in field to Lewis and across to Gundogan. Gundogan finds De Bruyne, 25 yards out. Back out to the right wing it goes, and Bernardo Silva lays it off to De Bruyne, right-hand corner, first time cross, looking for Haaland, comes back to him via a deflection, but by the time it got to him, he just couldn't adjust his body to strike it. Goal was the way he would have wanted. But I think that was a shot on goal, though, even though it was blocked, 0-0.
It absolutely was. It was a wicked ball in from Kevin De Bruyne. It bounced off Koopmeiners. But I'll tell you who's there, and it's not the centre-back. It's Locatelli again.
Yeah. That's not
a couple of times, yeah, he's dropped in right alongside the two centre-backs just to give Haaland no space. He did get the snapshot away, but Locatelli was there to block.
That's Dean Ashton, you can hear there alongside me, Ian Danta. Chelsea's women are 3-1 up against Twente in the Women's Champions League. Mayra Ramirez with the third for Chelsea. You're listening to Juve Man City in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes here. If you've got a plan, they've got a van. Haaland receives the ball down the left-hand side of the box. Put the ball across the face of goal, but such a calm touch off the chest of Kefren Turam Ullian to give it back to his keeper. Juve try and bring the ball up to halfway, but they got in a bit of a muddle there, did the home side, and City have it back.
Yeah, it was a decent pass from Grealish down the side of the centre-back Gatti for Haaland. The angle was tight, and he looked as if he had just had a little look over his shoulder to see if there was anyone there. There wasn't, so I was surprised he cut that back, rather than just lashing it as hard as he could towards the near post, and you're hoping you can catch the goalkeeper out. Surprised he didn't take that on.
Back in the centre circle it is, with Manchester City and Ruben Diaz. Left to Gvardiol, and further upfield it goes to Doku, but he's being forced back towards the halfway line. And so City have to start again inside their own half with Diaz. Short pass into Lewis, who gives it back to Diaz. Now Blajovic starts to press a bit further forward. Walker turns inside Yildiz. That's a good ball up to Haaland, who's come short, but his touch eludes him as he tried to guide it out to De Bruyne on the right-hand side, and Juve have it back. Locatelli, early pass, finds Koopmeiners, trying to ride a couple of challenges, helped out by Blajovic, who does really well whilst he was on the deck, scoops it away from a couple of City shirts, and then the offside flag goes up against Yildiz on the left-hand side, and City have a free kick. 0-0 on TalkSport 2.
He's not polished, is he, Erling Haaland, in those situations, in terms of holding the ball up, and it's pretty 50-50, isn't it? I think that's why still there are doubters for him as the best player in the world.
Even with 44 goals in 46
exactly.
Champions League appearances.
His goal record is just ludicrous, to be honest.
His goal record everywhere is ludicrous.
Yeah, but it is still little moments that people doubt him because of that hold-up play at times.
Lewis this time can't make his way through the midfield, but it's won back by City and sent out to Grealish midway point of the half. 4-1 to Chelsea's women now in the Champions League. Erin Cuthbert with the latest. De Bruyne looks for Haaland inside the area. Oh, what a save by Di Gregorio as Haaland tried to lift it over the keeper. Di Gregorio stuck up a left paw and got it away. That is the best chance of the half. 0-0.
Oh, wrap it up and put a bow on it from De Bruyne. What a gift of a pass. It was magnificent for Haaland.
Here come Juve at the other end. Conceição down the right-hand side of the box, steps in field, rolls it in field. First-time effort from Locatelli, or Danilo actually it was in the end who had the shot. But it bounced once and was a comfortable save for Ederson. Chances at both ends, 0-0.
Yeah, easy for Ederson. Right at him. Danilo looking to whip it with a bit of bend. Didn't get any of the bend and none of the whip. But what a chance for Haaland. I mean, De Bruyne's vision, the pass is so good. It's so disguised. It's got the perfect weight on it. It goes in between two defenders and in behind the Juve's defence. It's not a bad finish. I've got to say, it's not a bad decision from Haaland to try and just dink it. But a big paw comes out from Di Gregorio. Brilliant save.
Stays 0-0. Grealish for Manchester City. Out to the left wing and Doku. Level with the edge of the area. Coming in field. Finds Grealish again. Dispossessed by Kurt Miners. But De Bruyne, he's dispossessed by Kurt Miners. Good defending from the Juventus number 8. And now the tricky Conceição. Oh, that's a poor pass from him. He's done so well. He actually gets a pat on his back from his manager right next to him at the edge of the technical area. Skipped down the near touchline. Tried to flick it back to his fullback Sabona. Put it straight out of play. But yes, the pass from De Bruyne, we're just seeing again, split that Juve defence in two.
Oh, it was just gorgeous, honestly. In between Gatti's legs and then in behind Kalula.
And fair play to Haaland, who timed his run to absolute perfection.
And he thinks he scored, because it's a decent dink. But then, like I said, that left arm just comes out and he just read it perfectly.
Another free kick for Manchester City. Not a good challenge from Conceição, who apologises to Doku as he gets to his feet. It was a bit of a flick of the left leg from Chico Conceição. And it will be a free kick to Manchester City on the left-hand side of their midfield. Pretty much level with the penalty area. Chance for them late on in this first half. We've got, 41 minutes played. And the referee wants a word with Doku and Conceição because it didn't stay friendly for long between those two. And the French referee is reminding Conceição of his responsibilities out there as a player. Pep Guardiola, hands in pockets, pacing around his technical area as he's so often wont to do. But he's trying to have a free kick here, Dean, in a dangerous position.
Yeah, he knows though, if Haaland just pops that into the back of the net, then you're looking at a very good half of football for Manchester City.
So eventually De Bruyne will have this free kick. It's only a yard or two in from the near touchline, level with the Juve 18-yard line. Swing it in right-footed. Haaland standing nearest to the goalkeeper, comes into the near post, and Thuram, the first defender, heads it out of play for a corner kick. But there was no City player making a run to that near post area where De Bruyne delivered the ball. 0-0.
No, I don't think they were expecting it to be as whipped to the near post as it was. I wonder whether De Bruyne was actually trying to catch the defence and goalkeeper out with that.
A lot of pushing and shoving in the 6-yard box. Diaz and Kalulu right in front of the goalkeeper, and the referee, you can hear a couple of the blasts on the whistle from Clement Turpin. He's saying to those two, I've got my eye on you. And this is a vastly experienced referee. Let's not forget Clement Turpin. De Bruyne with the corner, 2 minutes to half time, 0-0. Right-footed in swinger, headed to the far post. It's out towards the edge of the box. Lewis tries to drive it goalwards from the edge of the area, but didn't catch it right at all. And City have to go back to their own goalkeeper Ederson as Juve tried to break. AC Milan lead Red Star by a goal to nil. Rafael Leao puts them in front late on in the first half at the San Siro. But at the Juventus Stadium, we're still waiting for the deadlock to be broken, Dean Ashton.
We are. And Haaland's had the best chance of the game. But like I said, this is such a similar performance to some of the very good performances they've had, certainly in the Champions League, where they've completely dominated, controlled the game, they've probed, the team has sat deep and defended well, and waiting just to wear them out, waiting for a lack of concentration or a bit of quality. But if the half-time whistle goes and it's still 0-0, it's City are not winning again.
Yeah, the narrative will play out that way, but they've dominated. What's the possession stat? 69% possession?
Yeah, which is a huge amount against a team like Juventus away from home. It's complete domination is what it is.
Final 3, Sparta Prague 1. Final, remember, came back from 3-0 down against Manchester City on the last match day. Sparta Prague are going to go back. Could be the bite a bit there in Rotterdam if they're not careful. Last minute of the first half. Conceição for Juventus, just over the halfway line, hugging this near touchline, near to where Pep Guardiola is standing in his technical area. Thiago Motta standing a bit more impassive at the edge of his. Ball's back in the Juventus back line with Savona. Tucks it in field to Locatelli. Savona will go back for his keeper. And Di Gregorio on loan from Monza. Began at Inter Milan. Clears out to the left-hand side. Danilo steps in front of Haaland. Kepa and Thuram with some neat footwork inside his own half. Teases it out to Kalulu. And now Yildiz. Neat ball in field. Vlahovic calling for it over the halfway line. Just a bit of irritation from the Juve fans. They probably want to see Dean a little bit more direct football and getting at Manchester City. They might have that now with Thuram just shy of the halfway line, but he goes back as a square to his centre halves.
They're pressing well, Manchester City, though. They get it right, they're one of the best at it.
Conceição brings the ball in field, plays it through the centre. Koopmeiners works it out to the right hand side. Vlahovic will give chase, he'll get there ahead of Rico Lewis. We're in 1 minute of minimum added time, which is nearly up, and Savona and Vlahovic fighting for possession. Jeremy Doku has let the ball run out of play, but they've got to get on with it here, Juve, because the half-time whistle will surely go, and indeed there it does go. Clement Turpin brings the first half to a close. You're listening to the Champions League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. So if you've got a plan, we've got a van, and we're back underway at the Juventus Stadium. Juve in their traditional black and white striped shirts with white shorts and socks, going from right to left as we look in this second period. Manchester City in their change strip of the all burgundy shirt, shorts and socks. And I'll run you through the lineups for Manchester City. Ederson in goal, Walker, Diaz, Gvardiol, then Gundogan and Lewis, Doku, Silva, De Bruyne and Grealish, Haaland in attack. For Juve, Di Gregorio the keeper, Savona, Gatti, Kalulu, Danilo, Locatelli and Thuram, Conceição, Koopmeiners, Yildiz and Vlahovic. And it's with Ruben Diaz, who completed every single pass he made in that first half. Some 48, 49 passes, 100% success rate. You'd expect nothing less of Ruben Diaz. And he tries to get his foot in to kick the ball away from Vlahovic, but the Serb wins it back. Ball's inside the City half out on the left-hand side for Juventus with Danilo, the former City player. Worked in field by Yildiz to Thuram, who just drops his shoulder and sends a lovely ball out to the right-hand side for Francisco Conceição. Up against Doku, down towards the byline. He's won an early corner in the second half for Juve, hitting the ball against the Belgian. 0-0.
Yeah, a really good pass from Thuram. Just reversing it out towards Conceição. Good defensive work from Doku as well. Yildiz, he's been the one, hasn't he, in the first half. He was the one that showed the spark.
So a left-footed in-swinging corner to come from Turn Koopmeiners for Juventus. Strikes it now to around the 6-yard line. Headed out by Diaz. Comes out to the edge of the area and Yildiz. But he eventually finds a pass, but Koopmeiners is offside. He shanked it off the outside of his boot. Koopmeiners went to retrieve it down by that corner flag, but he was a good 5 or 6 yards Offside, easiest flag that assistant's ever had to put up in his life. Free kick, 0-0.
Yeah, he just turned away, didn't he, Yildiz? He didn't even notice that he ended up with Koopmeiners because such a horrible attempt at the volley from the edge of the area.
So Ederson restored to the City starting lineup tonight after Stefan Ortega's been given the nod the last couple. Is Pep Guardiola looks to shake things up a little bit. Still a few long-term absentees. Stones out for a little while. Kovacic's back on the bench tonight, we should notice.
Yeah, that's important in that midfield area. Obviously still some young players on the bench that have been given some opportunities in recent games.
Yeah, Simpson Pusey I saw play recently. Thought he looked like a real prospect. Of course, Oscar Bob, who's a real prospect, is out long-term with an injury picked up in pre-season, which is very sad for him. I found it interesting that they let Micah Hamilton go. Scored in the Champions League last season. He's now at Middlesbrough. Thought he showed promise that he could make a breakthrough into the City first team. But he went off to the Riverside instead. We're in the 3rd minute of the second half on TalkSport 2. Walker sends it down the right-hand side looking for De Bruyne, but across steps Kalulu, the centre-half, and just nicks it out of play for a Manchester City throw. Walker, the City captain, looking for an option. Not much movement around him. De Bruyne's now come short for the throw. Haaland showing at the right-hand corner of the penalty area. Now Gundogan comes close to the ball, receives it and gets it back into his own half for Ruben Diaz. Diaz runs across the line from right to left. Now he's faced up by Koopmeiners, rolls it just ahead of him to Gundogan. Teases it out to Bernardo Silva on the near side, the City right. Gundogan again. Gives it back to Bernardo Silva. Not much room to operate in because Juve do close down the space very well, it seems to me, Dean Ashton.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty deal. De Bruyne around the side.
Trying to send a cross into the area. Breaks for Gundogan. It's blocked by Gatti. Haaland tried to tee at Grealish but didn't get the connection. And Juve got it clear, but suddenly De Bruyne had space down the right-hand side of the box and City looked dangerous again, 0-0.
It's so rare that he ever just puts it in to the box without looking. De Bruyne always just gets his head up, finds the pass in towards Gundogan, who tried to just side foot it into the corner. His body angle wasn't quite right, he was too straight onto it, so it made it really obvious where he was going, and blocked in the end.
0-0 again. Doku, left-hand side for City, looking to go on the outside of Savona. 5 minutes gone, second half. He's still got it down by the corner flag. Doku gets it back to Grealish, rolling it back down the line. He had 3 players around him then, Jeremy Doku. Still managed to work it back to a teammate. Ruben Diaz, midway point of the Juve half, rolls it to his right for Walker. Now out to Bernardo Silva. Silva rolls the ball up to the edge of the area. Little dummy from Gundogan, hoping that Haaland would profit from that, but he didn't. And Juve have it back. Chelsea women 5-1 up on FC Twente now. Shurka Nushkin with the latest goal for Sonia Bonpastor's side, and Vlahovic has just won a free kick for Juve just shy of the halfway line. 0-0 here on TalkSport 2.
I haven't seen enough of that in recent weeks. Ruben Diaz seems only a small thing, but just making a foul on the halfway line. Vlahovic takes it in and just clatters into him. Not a yellow card, but just completely stops any of the momentum.
Kalulu for Juve, to the left back Danilo rolls it down the line for Yildiz, who kept the ball away from Kyle Walker. They're working the ball slowly up towards the halfway line, Juventus. Kefren Turam, who the end takes over, goes back to the edge of his own box, and Pierre Kalulu finds Koopmeiners just at the edge of the centre circle. It was so nearly intercepted by Doku, but instead Conceição on the far right-hand side of the field has possession just shy of the halfway line. This game brought to you in partnership with TNT Sports, the home of European football. And the setting tonight on TalkSport 2 is the Juventus Stadium in northern Italy. Juve 0, Manchester City 0. Gatti finds Savona, faced up by Doku, midway point of his own half, so he goes backwards to square to Gatti and across to Pierre Kalulu, who's on loan from Milan. Tucked in field by Yildiz to Thuram. Good drop of the shoulder from him. Fires it up to Vlahovic on halfway, but the ball snakes away from him and City have it back. Grealish goes to ground, caught off the ball. No free kick, says the referee. Had a bit of a look at it and allowed play to continue. De Bruyne just too much of a heavy touch as he tried to run through the centre of midfield. It's picked up by Juve. Gatti drives into the City half and works it out right for Conceição. He stayed forward in this attack, Gatti, the centre half. He's in the box, waiting for a cross, as is Vlahovic. Conceição still has it, driving for the byline. Works it back to Savona. Savona gives it back into midfield for Locatelli. First touch sends the cross into the box. Volley goes by Gatti, blocked away by Ederson, and it's not clear yet. Ball sent back into the box by Yildiz, and what a save on the line by Ederson to deny Vlahovic, but the goal's been given. Vlahovic has put Juve ahead. Ederson thought he kept it out, but the goal decision system thought otherwise. And the serve has put Juve ahead, and Manchester City's European prospects take a huge hit in Turin. 8 minutes gone, second half. They didn't clear their lines. Vlahovic's header crept over the line, and it's Juve 1, Manchester City 0.
Big trouble again for Manchester City. First of all, Gatti, he was the one that intercepted De Bruyne. He's the one that drove forward, and then once it was played wide, he got himself into the box, and then he tries the overhead kick. Brilliant technique and connection that Ederson saved. It's recycled out towards Yildiz, and he puts in a great cross, and it's a really, really clever push in the back from Vlahovic. Just at the last second, he just puts his hand on Gvardiol, just so he misses it, and he's so close. He must be 3 yards out, and he just heads it powerfully against Ederson. It hits him in the chest, falls over the line. Ederson can't quite retrieve it. Manchester City are behind.
Well, that's his 51st goal for Juve, having been at the club since 2022. 23 rather, from Fiorentina. And yet Ederson just couldn't keep the ball out. It just dropped off his chest, and it landed right next to the side netting, and even with a naked eye you could sort of tell that it was and only just over the line. But that's what the GDS system is there for, and City are behind on TalkSport 2.
Well, he's so close to Ederson. Ederson, he can't react in time. It's too fast. The header's from a yard and a half away.
Yeah, you can't whip Ederson for that. It's just
really
something in the way.
It's actually really unlucky that it almost. And again, if that hits his shoulder, it probably pings out.
Yeah.
It hits the softness of his chest and just falls to the floor and over the line.
Elsewhere, Queen's Park Rangers have got a second against Oxford. 2-0 they lead, another for Sam Field tonight. And Barcelona lead in Dortmund. Rafinha makes it Borussia Dortmund 0, Barcelona 1. Here comes Bernardo Silva trying to respond for Manchester City, although he runs into Danilo, who toe pokes it out of play for a throw to the visitors. Here's Gundogan. Now the tempo's got to increase, you sense, from Manchester City. Stuttgart 2-1 up on Young Boys. Enzo Milot. Bernardo Silva teases the ball into the area, but Thuram back defending, and Kalulu brings the ball clear at pace for Juve. Works it out left to Yildiz. Vlahovic just inside the City half. Plays the ball with the outside of his left foot, looking for Conceição's come across. Good pace from the on-loan Portuguese. Flicks it out to the left, or the goal scorer Vlahovic. Puts the cross into the box. Header is a bit wayward from Savona, who got forward from right back. Didn't really believe in himself as that cross came in. It's out of play for a City goal kick. And the changes that Pep Guardiola makes at this point in this game, you sense are going to be absolutely pivotal to the outcome in this game, Dean Ashton. 1-0 Juve.
It is, but Juve have had a bit more. When they have won it, they've flooded forwards with 4 or 5 players. Savona that time, the fullback, ending up in the penalty area from a counter-attack. So they're starting to sense that there's more goals on the counter-attack for them.
Bernardo Silva up to the edge of the Juve area, rolls it across to Grealish inside the D. Locatelli facing him up. Now Doku takes over. Left-hand side of the box. Great feet. Shot is blocked by Gatti. Comes out to Lewis. His shot is blocked by Kurt Miners. All hands to the pump for Juve. Trying to stop City getting past them. Now Walker with a run down the right-hand side of the box. crosses into the area, but Locatelli there again for Juve. And then the ball's won by Gundogan, right-hand side, stealing off Kalulu. Good spell of pressure here for Manchester City. Can they make it count? De Bruyne trying to roll it into the feet of Haaland. Bit lazy. Picked off by Juve. Vlahovic up to halfway. Clips the ball to the right for the run of Conceição. Keeps it in play on the right-hand side. Guardiola out there with him. Koopmeiners and Vlahovic up with Conceição. Gets into the area. Greedy. Tried a shot. Come to be blocked. And City clear.
Yeah, he never quite got away from Guardiola. He was always there to block the shot. But again, bit of sloppy play from Man City, and they flood forwards. Vlahovic towards Conceição, and 3 Juventus players in the penalty area. Conceição gets his head up, gaining more and more confidence after that goal.
57, 58 minutes gone in actual fact on TalkSport 2. It is Juventus 1, Manchester City 0. City do not want to suffer successive away defeats in the Champions League. It would put their chances of qualification very much into doubt. But here's Grealish inside the D, lovely quick feet, finds Bernardo Silva, tried to pass it into the net, and it was blocked behind by Danilo for a Manchester City corner on their right-hand side. 1-0 Juve.
Yeah, good play from Gundogan, releasing Grealish. Great bit of footwork from him on the edge of the area. I'm thinking you should do it yourself, and he spots a great little pass. Lovely weight on it for Bernardo Silva, who is trying just to come onto that from the right-hand side, pass it into that far corner. It was read by the goalkeeper and the defenders. Maybe just whip it near post.
De Bruyne with a right-wing corner into the near post, hits the first defender, Koopmeiners. Delivery's not quite been there from set pieces yet for Kevin De Bruyne, but this time Yildiz being forced back towards his own dead ball line. Oh, he did so well to clip it in field for Kalulu with 3 City players around him, but the clearance from Juve only goes to halfway and City have it back. Guardiola finds Grealish. He rolls it back to Ruben Diaz at the edge of the centre circle. De Bruyne to his right. That's Bernardo Silva calling for it. Up against Danilo. Level with the edge of the area now, Bernardo Silva. Plays it back into square for the captain, Kyle Walker. Silva again. Once again looks for Kyle Walker. Tucks it infield to Gundogan. Once more Juventus have everybody back behind the ball in their own defensive 13, Ashton.
But they're staying outside the area. That's a great pass.
Doku into the area across the face of goal, but it was not there for Haaland to clear, and the offside flag went up against Doku anyway. It was a lovely pass, as Dean Ashton rightly said, but it just gone a margin too early. Doku, Gundogan lifted it over the top of the defenders, and it ended up just being a free kick for offside. And we're just seeing the images from the goal decision system, and it was actually quite well over the line from Vlahovic's header. There was clear distance between the edge of the ball and the back of the white line. 1-0 Juventus, an hour gone on TalkSport 2. Jeopardy for Manchester City in the Champions League. And here is Kenan Yildiz down the left-hand side of the box for Juve, who created that cross for the first, fires into the post. Ederson's lost it, can't grab it at the second attempt, but he's bailed out by defenders around him as he was put off trying to claim it at the near post by Koopmeiners.
Yeah, it was a wicked delivery from Yildiz. Just can go either way, right or left. Just shifts it onto his left foot. Wicked ball in. I think it's just because of the run to the near post that Ederson just is off put slightly.
Doku wants a free kick as he went down at the left-hand corner of the penalty area under pressure from Locatelli. Holds his arms out to the referee, pleading, but gets nothing. Meantime, again, Juventus had players running forward. There was a run by Koopmeiners, the inside right channel. That's, I think, who the Juve fans had spotted. They roared as they saw him making the run, but he wasn't used. You're listening to Juventus 1, Manchester City 0 in the Champions League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. And what a mission for Manchester City at this point, Dean Ashton. 1-0 down, over an hour gone, and Juve seemingly growing in confidence, having taken that one-goal lead.
Well, they are, because they especially with Manchester City needing to get back into the game, there will be those gaps that will open up on the counter-attack. and they are flooding forwards. It is different to the first half where they were very, very conservative. Not so. Conceição yielded a lot higher, a lot wider, just to open Manchester City up.
1-0 here to Juve. Borussia Dortmund equalise against Barcelona. Serhou Guirassy equalising for the German side. Manchester City in possession. They're a goal down here on TalkSport 2. Trying to do something about it with Kevin De Bruyne out to the left-hand side and Jeremy Doku. Doku back inside for De Bruyne. Lovely ball. Doku inside the area. Across the face of goal and no one there to tuck it home. And it will eventually dribble out of play for a goal kick. Super run from Jeremy Doku. Stayed on his feet. Pulled it back across the face of goal. But it was nowhere near Erling Haaland, who was notionally the closest player to try and tuck it in.
No, look, it's your job as a forward to make a dart, whether that's to the near post or the far post. It ends up being Haaland that makes the dart to the near post, ball is played to the back post. So really, it should be Bernardo Silva that sees the run of Haaland and makes sure that he covers the back post. He doesn't just stand still. Doku's saying, come on, that is literally a tap-in for you if you make the run. So it's brilliant from him. Just put it across the 6-yard line, ready to be tapped in.
That's the thoughts of Dean Ashton on TalkSport, former England and West Ham striker. City have won a corner, right-hand side. They've taken it short to Gundogan, work back into midfield for Walker. Gundogan again on the City right. De Bruyne hugging the right-hand touchline. He took the corner. Tried to play it forward to Bernardo Silva, but Juve won it back. Conceição pirouettes inside his own half. Tried to feed it up to the run of Sabono, who's making a run the right back into the City half, but Pep's men have it back. Grealish finds De Bruyne, 30 yards out, going to go for goal maybe. No, he slides in. Doku, right hand side of the box, the cross is half blocked. Silva turns it back to De Bruyne, surely he'll go for goal. Tees up Gundogan, it's blocked by Locatelli, and then Walker has a shot blocked by Kalulu, and Ruben Diaz retrieves. 1-0 Juve, it stays.
Just all a little bit indecisive from Manchester City. A couple of times players could have taken the shot on earlier, they didn't, then they pull back, play the pass to their teammate, shot is blocked once again. How many blocks have Juventus defenders had in this game already?
Grealish for Manchester City, just over 25 minutes to go on TalkSport 2. Gundogan at the centre of the Juve half. I thought he was going to shoot for a minute then, but then Thuram Ulian came to close down the space. So Gundogan has to look elsewhere. Final 4, Sparta Prague 1. And VfB Stuttgart 3, Young Boys 1, elsewhere in the Champions League tonight. So we're into the last 25 minutes in Turin. Grealish can't get the better of Locatelli. Oh, he works hard, Manuel Locatelli, doesn't he? For Juventus, Dean Ashton, you'd love to have a player like that.
I mean, it's the reading, but then it's the effort, isn't it? It can't just be the reading of it. You've got to cover the ground as he has done, helped his centre-backs out, a couple of magnificent blocks.
Silva, great ball in field to De Bruyne, goes for goal, it's wide by a good 2 or 3 yards, but that's a sighter for Kevin De Bruyne. 1-0 Juventus.
It is. Great ball into him, great take on the half-turn. We know he can strike a ball beautifully. This time, I think just because he's under pressure, he can't quite follow through with the strike, so he almost stabs at it and just pulls across it slightly 3 or 4 yards wide. He would have liked to have really followed through that cut across the ball.
Ball lobbed downfield from Juve. Vlahovic knew he was in an offside position, so he had to run back and couldn't go to collect it, so it just bounced through to Ederson. Santiago Jimenez, who got that 4th for final there. Very much in demand Mexican striker. I wonder whether we might see him in the Premier League or in another major European league before too long. There's quite a few clubs courting him at the moment. Ball's up to halfway. Manchester City looking to redress the balance here. It's 1-0 to Juve. Doku, who's been really lively all night, in fairness to him, on that left-hand side, finds Rico Lewis. It is with Ruben Diaz once again in the centre circle. Gundogan takes it off his toe, just ahead of the centre circle. Walker calling for it on this near side. The right gets it now. Faced up by Kalulu, who's come out to engage him, and Danilo. Goes back infield to Rico Lewis in the centre of the Juve half. Floats the ball out to Grealish, left-hand side. Savona watching him. Grealish jockeying him down the left-hand side of the penalty area. Rolls it back for Gvardiol. Across to Gundogan, into the area. Across the curling goal was great. Save Di Gregorio. That was heading for the top corner. And Di Gregorio flew across to his left-hand side and palmed it round the corner for a corner that City had taken quickly. Short routine between Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne. Now Bernardo Silva, little reverse ball. Gundogan tried to play it across the face of goal, and Gatti this time blocked it behind. 1-0 Juve. They're hanging on here to this one-goal leader City press.
I've got to say, City have been brilliant. The interplay, the quality, the freshness of every pass in towards their teammate. Gundogan it was on the edge of the area that just got himself free and looking to bend into the top corner. Di Gregorio with a beautiful right-handed over-the-top save. And then Gundogan and Bernardo Silva, the interplay, just lending it to each other. Gundogan thought, I'm just going to whip this in towards Haaland along the 6-yard line, and once again another block is there.
Double change for Juve. Weston McKennie, who TalkSport 2 listeners will remember being at Leeds United not so long ago on loan from Juve. He's coming on for Kefren Thuram in that holding midfield road, and the American Timothy Weah has come on for Conceição, and the Conceição picks up that injury in the first half, might be feeling the effects of that. So a double change as Thiago Motta blinks first ahead of Pep Guardiola with a 1-0 lead to protect.
Well, he'll sense that City have started to get through at least into the area of Juventus's defence. It feels like a matter of time before they get the equaliser, and actually maybe wants the freshness as well of Timothy Weah on the counter-attack.
Hull City 1, Watford 0 in the Championship. Ruben Selles now in charge at Hull, and Chris Bedia has given them the lead. They haven't won or kept a clean sheet in 10 matches, Hull City, but they lead at the MKM late on. It's about 8 minutes to go there. 20 minutes just over to go here on TalkSport 2 between Juventus and Manchester City, and Juve lead by 1-0. Vlahovic's header that Ederson couldn't keep out at close range. The GDS system ruled it was over the line. Here's Grealish for Manchester City, level with the 18-yard line, left-hand side. Support from Bernardo Silva, and it's rolled back into midfield for Ruben Diaz. Doku's come out onto the right-hand side for a moment. Collects it now. 2 Juve players for company. He's level with the 18-yard line. Tries to go on the outside of Danilo, but Juve win it back. Gets no change out of those 2 defenders there, Jeremy Doku. And now Koopmeiners is giving chase down the left-hand side. Forces Ruben Diaz to get out of play, and they take the throw quickly using the multi-ball system. And Vlahovic burst into the area, but Gvardiol calmly back to his goalkeeper, and City can build again from the back. 20 to go, 1-0 Juve.
Yeah, Vlahovic didn't realise that Gvardiol was there, and that Gvardiol is pretty rapid, and just was able to cover Ruben Diaz.
Balls out to the left-hand side for Jack Grealish. Rico Lewis. Gundogan. Into the feet of Bernardo Silva. He's gone across to that left-hand side to allow Doku to switch to the right. Grealish out there too. Level with the edge of the area, up against Savona. Checks back onto his right foot rather than the left. Finds Rico Lewis. Lewis chips it out to Doku on the right-hand side. Brings it down the right-hand side of the box. To the right-hand corner of the area. Walker takes a touch. Floats across to the far post. Headed out by Gatti. Comes out to Gvardiol, who drives down the left-hand side of the area to the byline. Wins a corner off Timothy Weah. And City press again, looking for an equaliser.
Yeah, the tempo's been really good since they conceded that goal. Manchester City really penned them in, haven't they?
Short corner again. Grealish picks it up. Left-hand side. De Bruyne out to the left wing. And Bernardo Silva dumps the defender on the seat of his pants. De Bruyne goes for goal, and it's well over, and the keeper had it covered, I think, from about 25 yards out. Red Star have equalised in Milan. 1-1 there. Nemanja Radonjic in the Champions League. They're 31st in the table ahead of tonight. Just one win. That was against Stuttgart by Red Star, or Cervena Zvezda as you might know them by. And it's 1-0 here to Juve, and time is starting to run out for Manchester City, and still we await the first change from the substitutes bench for Pep Guardiola, which can't be far away, you would imagine. Ball chested out of play by Vlahovic, the goal scorer.
Also, it wouldn't be the first time that I've seen Guardiola do this, where you think there has to be a change coming in, and he doesn't. He just leaves the players out there to almost, figure it out for themselves, and trust that what they've worked on will eventually get them through.
Celtic women 0, Real Madrid 2 in the Women's Champions League. Sinja Bruin with a second for Real Madrid on the night. Celtic destined to go through that entire group stage without a single point to their name. Manchester City heading for successive away defeats in the Champions League, unless they can do something about this situation that they face in Turin. 17 minutes to go, Juve 1 up. City though again with a lot of the ball as they had in the first half. Still 2/3 of possession is theirs. Can they make something of it? Ruben Diaz just ahead of the centre circle finds Rico Lewis. Gvardiol tucks it in field to Gundogan. Heady first touch, but he keeps possession. And then poor pass back to Gvardiol, has to hunker back to the halfway line to keep it for Manchester City. And now Lewis, just to the left of the centre circle, gets his head up, looks for an option. Short of him is Gundogan. Watford equalise at Hull, 1-1. Rocco Batta with the equaliser for Hull. Doku can't get the better of Danilo, the former Manchester City man. And he's in possession now and tucks a lovely ball in field for Weston McKennie. Where the other substitute is away on the right-hand side into the area. Angles tightly, tries to pull it across for Vlahovic. Tucks it back. Weston McKennie! 2-0 Juve! The substitutes combine to put Pep Guardiola's Manchester City under severe pressure in the Champions League. Thiago Motta made the change. Suddenly Juve broke way away on the right-hand side. First cross blocked, second cross volleyed home expertly by Weston McKennie. And it's Juve 2, Manchester City 0.
Freshness on the counter-attack against Manchester City at the moment will do some damage. There was no freshness about the defensive play. Rico Lewis slightly out of position, couldn't get towards Timothy Ware. And then when he just clips it back in, who is picking up? Weston McKennie, who finds himself totally free on the penalty spot. It's a brilliant volley. He's stretching side volley into the ground and past Ederson, and rightly so, Diaz is screaming. Who is picking him up?
It's his second Champions League goal of the campaign. Weston McKennie scored against PSV. That one is a real blow to Manchester City and their prospects. Never mind of a top 8 finish, making sure they're in the top 24.
I mean, they've got PSG away in the next Champions League game. This was always going to be crucial, this fixture.
They've got 15 minutes to save themselves from 2-0 down here, Manchester City. You're listening to Juve Man City in the Champions League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van. Pep Guardiola had better have a plan. But here come Juve again. Yildiz over the halfway line, up against Walker. Got support by Danilo on the underlap. Across the face of goal, it's cleared away by City. Good defending at the near post. West Brom go 2-0 up on Karlan Grant in the Championship, on Coventry City rather. It's Karlan Grant's got the goal. It's not West Brom 2, Karlan Grant 0. It's West Brom 2, Coventry 0. Getting more excited. Doku for Manchester City. 2-0 down. This is going to be 1 win in 10 for Manchester City. You would never have believed it possible. Grealish, left-hand side, gives it back to Gvardiol. Thought about putting the cross into the box, but instead lays it to his right for Gundogan. Gvardiol Tucks it back again to Gundogan. Good ball into the box. Silva looked to find De Bruyne, but the ball ricocheted off a Juve boot. And the goalkeeper, Di Gregorio, gratefully plunged on top of the loose ball. And it stays 2-0 to Juve on TalkSport 2.
Oh, that was just a toe. That was all it was that stopped that ball going through to De Bruyne, who would have just turned and been facing the goalkeeper inside the area. But it's been the story of Juventus's defensive display. They've just always been there. They've always been able to block when they've needed to.
Savinho's waited to come on for Manchester City, but he's going to have to bide his time. Danilo's gone down injured meantime. Needs some treatment. Gives me a chance to let you know that Preston look like they've taken all 3 points from the Cardiff City Stadium. Now Preston 2-0 up. Militin Osmajic has got the second for the Lily Whites. Cardiff 0, Preston 2. Borussia Dortmund 1, Barcelona 2. Ferran Torres once off Manchester City with the second goal for Barca. Stuttgart 5, Young Boys 1. 3 live games for you tomorrow across the TalkSport network from Europe. From 3:30 here on TalkSport 2, it's Astanta against Chelsea in the Conference League, followed by Victoria Plzeň against Manchester United at 5:45, and then at 8 o'clock over on TalkSport, Rangers against Tottenham. Savinho on, Doku off, Dean Ashton.
I mean, look, Doku, of course, looks so dangerous, but Sink's coming to the right-hand side. He's probably not as dangerous as he was over on the left. And he feels as if he wants to keep Grealish out on that side. Savinho has always been bright every time I've seen him in a Manchester City shirt so far.
Fantastic, yeah. So that's the first change that Pep Guardiola's made. Here's Savinho straight into the action up against Danilo, and Danilo's won the throw. Hit it against Savinho. So he's won that first duel. 79 minutes gone in the Juventus Stadium. Juve 2, Manchester City 0 on TalkSport 2. Ball thrown into Vlahovic, who got the first. And it's now 2-0 to Arsenal, and Bukayo Saka has scored 2 on the night as well. That's over on TalkSport right now. Arsenal 2, Monaco 0. Arsenal going back into the top 8. Manchester City, as it stands, nowhere near the top 8 in the Champions League table. Here is Savinho checking it infield for Kyle Walker. Now here's Gundogan finding Rico Lewis up towards the edge of the area. Bernardo Silva, twinkle toes from him, keeps it away from Locatelli. Gvardiol might measure a ball into the box from the left-hand side, elects not to cross, gives it back to Gundogan, centre of the half. Whistles go up around the stadium as City keep possession. Again, everybody back behind the ball in the black and white stripes in their own defensive third. Grealish, left-hand side up against Savona. Gets the ball onto his right, feints the cross but checks. Gets his head up, rolls it back in field to Gundogan. Now Kyle Walker looks for Kevin De Bruyne. Back across for Gundogan. They're looking to thread the needle here at Manchester City. De Bruyne out to Savinho, right-hand corner of the penalty area. Gets the ball on his left foot. Will he send a cross in? No, gives it back to De Bruyne. First time ball headed out by Locatelli. There again for Juventus with the important interception. And the ball eventually gets all the way back to Ederson as Borussia Dortmund equalised for a second time against Barcelona. 2-2 in the Champions League, and a second for Serhou Guirassy as well.
I mean, every time Manchester City have got in and around the area, Locatelli's timing of when he drops has been exquisite. He doesn't start there, he just drops at the right moment, so you think that pass is on, or you think you can get your shot, and he's just there. It's been outstanding.
Hull and Watford have finished 1-1, so no win in 11 for Hull City, having been pegged back in that game. Walker for Manchester City, 2-0 down against Juve. Finds Grealish scheming around the edge of the area, clipped by Locatelli. Free kick to Manchester City, 25, maybe 30 yards out to the left of centre. As it stands in the table, City will be in 22nd on 8 points from 6 games. Paris Saint-Germain, who they go to next in the Champions League in January, they're outside the top 24 in 25th on 7 points, just a point behind Pep's men, ahead of what would be an absolute disbuster of a game in Paris in early January, particularly if things stay as they are. But City have got a chance here to get themselves back in this game. They're 2-0 down, 8 minutes to go, but Kevin De Bruyne standing over a free kick just to the left of centre. There's a three-man wall. De Bruyne flicks it into the area. Up goes Diaz, tries to get the head to it, and Timothy Weah just hooks it away for Juventus. The ball goes out of play for a City throw, taken quickly by Rico Lewis. Juve, for their part, with this 3 points they're getting, going up to 13th in the table, and they'd just be 2 points behind Brest and Inter and Villa and Leverkusen and Arsenal and Dortmund and Barcelona, all on 13 points between 2nd and 8th. Liverpool on 18 are just in a different postcode to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels as if it is going to go down to the last match day, isn't it?
Yeah.
No matter what Manchester City do against PSG, that could still leave them, obviously having to win their final game.
Which is against Club Brugge, who are in mid-table at the moment, 19th. They've got 10 points, the Belgian side. Who knows what they might want to be playing for come match day 8. Cardiff 0, Preston 2 is a full-time score, so now he's got the job permanently, Omar Risa, at Cardiff. It's not going his way, and that's a much-needed win for Paul Heckingbottom and Preston, their first win in 11 games for them tonight. Douglas Luiz back fit again for Juve. Not had the easiest time of it since moving to Juve from Aston Villa. Is coming on, and so too is the man that scored the late equaliser at the weekend to rescue a point for Juve against Bologna. That's Samuel Bangula, the Belgian under-21. So Yildiz going off. And who's the other player going off? I think it was Vlahovic, it is. So Vlahovic and Yildiz, two of the better players in Juve's starting lineup. So certainly Vlahovic, he got his goal. He's back in the side. They've missed him whilst he's been away. But Juve are creeping towards victory here, Dean Ashton. Just over 5 minutes of normal time to play.
Yeah, and those changes say everything about the mentality now. I mean, they'll feel like they can hold Manchester City anyway, because they have done for so much of the game. They've only been opened up once. That one chance for Haaland is all they've really had. Everything else has been crosses or pullbacks in the area or shots from outside the area.
Millwall 0, Sheffield United 1 is a full-time score, so that first half strike from Rhian Brewster puts Sheffield United back on top of the Championship, a point clear of Leeds United, both having played 20 games. We've got more Championship action for you on Friday night from Pride Park. Derby County on a bit of a losing streak at the minute, taking on Portsmouth. Here's De Bruyne for Manchester City at 2-0 down the right-hand side of the box, pulls it back, and once again there's players there to win it for Juve inside their own penalty area.
Yeah, all three of the midfielders, McKennie, Locatelli, Douglas Luiz, all right there with the centre-backs and tracking runs.
Yellow card for Bernardo Silva for getting involved with the goalkeeper Di Gregorio. Another win for QPR, creeping up the Championship table and sending Oxford closer towards the relegation zone. QPR 2, Oxford 0. QPR are now up to 19th in the table, having leapfrogged Oxford United. Good win for Martin Cifuentes and his men. They're still playing at the Hawthorns, where it's West Brom 2, Coventry City 0. That was an 8 o'clock kickoff, just like this game. Arsenal 2 up, Manchester City 2-0 down, and a foul by Kyle Walker, bringing down Bangula, who's not lying as a substitute, and is flat on his back inside the City half, but he's being picked up by his teammate. And is that Matheus Nunes coming on for Manchester City? I think it is. Or Jack Grealish. But Nunes not got long to make an impact on this game, Dean Ashton. He's got less than 4 minutes of normal time plus stoppage. Meantime, Douglas Luiz gets nudged to the ground, does he, by Kyle Walker? Nothing doing, says the referee. That wasn't a foul. So Manchester City have a goal kick. 2-0 down though.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to produce something special to level this up, the way Juventus have defended and with the personnel that they've now brought on to shore things up defensively. I'd be very, very surprised. I think it's going to be another very, very disappointing result, albeit it's been a decent performance, but those frailties on the break, every team now is looking at that and targeting it whenever they can.
03717 223344. That will get you to Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy on the sports bar over on TalkSport from 10 p.m. Has anyone seen? Or is Jermaine Pennant with Jason Cundy tonight? Sorry, not Jamie O'Hara. He's probably having an early night ahead of Tottenham at Rangers tomorrow night. And gird his loins ahead of another potential horrible night. Here's De Bruyne for Manchester City. 2 minutes to go. Can't ride the challenge of Danilo. Chest it down for Mbangula. Gives it back to the former Manchester City man. Tries to steer it infield, but it's picked up by Gundogan. Now Bernardo Silva down the right-hand side of the box. Crosses into the area. Haaland tries to take a touch, but it gets away from him. Barcelona 3-2 up at Dortmund late on. Ferran Torres with a second of the night for him and a third for Barca. Chelsea's women 6-1 up on FC Twente. Heath Pérez with the latest, and Real Madrid 3-0 up on Celtic's women in the Champions League as well. Here is Matheus Nunes for Manchester City, desperately trying to claw their way back into this game, but time is very much against Pep Guardiola's men. Nunes comes in field from the left-hand touchline, plays it across to Kyle Walker, the captain. Now Bernardo Silva, right-hand corner of the area, thought about sending a cross in, rolls it back to Gundogan, and then he plays it back as a square to Ruben Diaz, trying to find that perfect pass. Guardiola out to the left-hand side. Savinho wants it now. Infield it goes to Rico Lewis. Back for De Bruyne. Chips it into the area. Guardiola's made a forward run. Gives it back to Rico Lewis. Drive is deflected, and the deflection helped the keeper. Straight into the path of Di Gregorio, who was on the turf, but just clutched hold of it gratefully. 2-0 Juve.
Yeah, but Rico Lewis feels that this is a handball and a penalty. He feels like he takes the strike on, and then it hits Gatti's hand. Although his arm is close to his body, it almost gets trapped between his thigh and his hand.
I wouldn't say his hand was in an unnatural position, so it would have been harsh, I suppose. But those are the breaks that you want as a manager. The 90 minutes is up. We're into added time, and there's only 2 minutes of added time in the Juventus Stadium. Well, there haven't been that many substitutions, in fairness, so I guess there's a point to that. But Manchester City are staring down the barrel here of even progressing to the knockout stages of the Champions League. Unthinkable.
It is.
Start of the campaign.
Oh, it is. It is, and like I said before the game, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. You still need players to come back. You'd like more options, like a John Stones, like an Ake, Kanji. Phil Foden's been ill, he's on the bench, but maybe he's not ready.
He was warming up quite vigorously in the second half, but has not come on tonight, Phil Foden. 3-0 to Arsenal, by the way. Kai Havertz, points are safe for Arteta's men. No points at all for Manchester City. And Weah is clipped by Guardiola. That's a free kick to Juve inside their own half. And Pep Guardiola stands at the edge of his technical area, fairly impassive, but he knows this is not what he signed up for in the Champions League, as time is very much against the citizens. Long ball downfield, collected by Timothy Weah, but Rico Lewis puts it out for a throw. Again, they'll take their time over this Juve. We've almost played the 2 minutes of minimum added time. And Savona will take the throw in. Flags are already waving around the stadium. Savona takes the throw. down to the corner flag, right-hand side. The referee blows the full-time whistle. Manchester City have lost successive away Champions League games.